welcome. We are with Sai Venkateshwaran of KPMG India. Sai, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
What's the big excitement about IFRS?
IFRS is going to be a game changer for India. I think the financial reporting that India follows is going to, I think, move to a very, very different kind of sphere altogether. And India is currently making a lot of efforts towards improving its corporate governance rankings, transparency rankings, and all that. And with this change, I think our financial reporting is going to kind of become far more better, far more transparent. I think it'll start reflecting the substance of a lot of arrangements. So in that sense, I think the way international investors see and perceive Indian businesses and what they get out of the financial reports will be far richer and far more kind of relevant to their use, and therefore it's going to be a big game changer, I think, for everybody involved in the financial reporting ecosystem.
Okay, how will things change for the last mile user of financial reports, the common investor?
Yeah, so there's a lot more of information that's going to start coming out through IFRS reporting. So for instance, every kind of significant transaction that's there will be a lot of information and additional disclosures that now come into reports explaining the rationale for the transaction, explaining the business models, how entities are being managed, how entities are being controlled, talking about the substance of various funding arrangements, and so on and so forth. So there will be a lot more information in the hands of the investor to kind of understand exactly what's going on within the company as compared to the disclosures that are happening today.
Will it also become easier for the common man to actually read financial reports?
I won't say it's going to become all that easier. I think for an informed reader, I think there will be a lot more information for him to digest and kind of deal with. But to a layman, I think he might find it to be a little bit of information overload. But again, I think that's globally an effort that's going on to, let's say, cutting the clutter and kind of giving more focused information. So I think IFRS is going through that evolution. So in the years to come, we will see a lot more crisper information, but definitely a lot more meaningful information coming out to the investors.
What are the three challenges that you see Indian companies facing in implementing the new accounting standards?
I think first of all, I think just the capacity and the skill sets that are available, because IFRS are a very complex set of standards, and in a sense standards that deal with current contemporary business practice and all that. And a lot of these are principles based. So people who need to apply these will need to understand those principles, exercise significant amount of judgments, do a lot of estimation in terms of ultimately coming out of the numbers. So there's a lot of effort that's required, and so people are going to implement these standards as well as people are going to use these standards. I think both of them will need to fully comprehend all the nuances of these standards. So I think that capacity building and skill building is certainly one area where there's a lot of effort that will be required. That's only one part. Second is, I think, dealing with the users of financial statements. So be it the investors, be it regulators, be it bankers. I think they all also need to come on board and fully understand what these changes mean, and for it to ultimately become business as usual. Then when companies are actually dealing with their own business arrangements and all of that, I think that's where again there will be a change in the mindset, because today a lot of arrangements are still driven by the legal form of the arrangement, and that's what drives the accounting. But tomorrow, as substance kind of takes over in a much bigger way, I think companies will need to start thinking through this. And so practically all stakeholders within the system, so be it a strategy team, be it the treasury team, I think all of them will need to understand some of these nuances as they deal with transactions that the companies are undertaking.
On a scale of 0 to 10, how would you rate the preparedness of Indian companies as far as bringing in this new convergence era is concerned?
Okay, I would put it in two classes of companies. So I know one set of companies who have been on a fairly good state of readiness. So even though the roadmap's not been announced, they have been preparing information voluntarily and kind of tracking that. So they are in a fairly high state of readiness, I would say somewhere between an 8 and a 9. Okay. But a lot of other companies have so far been in a kind of sense of denial, because obviously they've seen this getting pushed back at the last minute, the last time around. And so for them, I think they're still in a sense of saying, let it come and then we will start working on it. So yeah, you have companies in both ends of the spectrum. And so for the second class, I think they would probably be at a 4 or a 5 or something like that, where they know what probably are the big changes, but they're not really geared up right now to kind of deal with that transition. So
quickly in one line, do you think the transition to these new accounting standards will be a seamless one?
I won't say it's going to be totally painless. There are a number of things that need to be done, but having said that, at least I know from the government's point of view, they're working on, let's say, addressing the tax issues in parallel, which otherwise would have been a big roadblock. And if companies also kind of step up the game and I think get all of their stakeholders kind of up to speed, I think they can do this in a reasonably painless manner.
All right, Sai. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.